Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Eli Beckman. I'm the mayor. We've also got town manager Todd Cusimano, assistant town manager and town clerk Rebecca Vaughn, the interim fire chief Ruben Martin. We've got Mike Moriarty, our code enforcement officer, and also RJ Suko, our director of public works, on the line here to answer any of your guys' questions. It's been a pretty brutal couple of weeks or months, really. It feels like we had like first coronavirus and then the economic impacts and then the heat and the fires and the smoke. It's like you want to open up your windows and air out your house in this heat, and it's smoky now. So I think we're all kind of dealing with a lot these days. There's a sort of a mounting sense of frustration, I think, and understandably so in the community, but there's also a lot of, I think, just a lot of resilience that we're seeing, and a lot of especially in Corte Madera, people just kind of getting up and saying, all right, well, we're going to make it through this one way or another. We're seeing, kind of the beautiful traditions that make Corte Madera such a special place to live are continuing, some new and some old. We've got the Lark Theater doing their drive-in movies in the village parking lot is remaining really popular. We've also just had this past weekend, Age-Friendly Corte Madera went out and visited all of our residents age 90 and over, went door to door delivering little certificates of honor and gift bags to these residents who we usually celebrate every year with a big party at the rec center. Obviously, we can't do that this year, but I just thought it was so nice that they went door to door like that and still made sure to kind of bring the celebration to our honorees, even in these circumstances, and really brighten their days. So I'm going to turn it over to staff now. I don't really have too much else to offer at the moment. I know Todd's got some updates for us, and I think Chief Martin's also going to give us an update on the fire. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Thanks, boss. And I'm going to turn it over to Chief Martin, since I think the fires are at the top of all of our minds, for him to give us an update and any other messaging he wants to pass along. Take it away, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor Beckman. Thanks, Todd. Well, as everyone has been seeing the news, the North Bay's been hit pretty hard this year, or beginning in the early parts of fire season, with all the fires burning throughout the state. We got hit pretty unprecedentedly with a severe lightning siege that kind of came through the county. In my 20-plus years here, I think I've had one red flag day event due to a lightning strike, but nothing to the significance. I think they were talking about over 10,000 lightning strikes that hit the Bay Area, with over 390 fires or so that started, with 9 of them being here in the county of Marin. The largest of those fires is the one that's currently burning out in the Point Reyes National Seashore, which is the Woodward fire that started, I believe, was late Monday afternoon. And that was also attributed to a lightning strike that eventually just kind of smoldered from a small 5-acre spot fire to what now they're looking at about just shy of 2,800 acres, with about approximately 5% containment. For those of you that haven't noticed, last night, Marin County Fire Department issued a mandatory evacuation order. That means they needed people to evacuate immediately from the Inverness Park area, which is the small community just west of Point Reyes, kind of near the Bear Valley Visitor Center, just because of the shifting winds over the weekend, with another anticipated lightning strike. The fire originally was pushing down towards the Bolinas area, but with the lightning, or the change in direction of the winds, are now pushing the fire back towards the Point Reyes area. So now we're kind of concentrating all of our resources out there. And just to put things in a perspective on how stretched thin the entire state is, we only have 211 personnel assigned to the fire out in the Point Reyes National Seashore, which is pretty unprecedented for a fire that's 2,800 acres. Normally you have close to 700-800 firefighters on that assignment. With that, we've got 4 of our firefighters out assigned to the Woodward Fire in Point Reyes. We also have 6 members of our department assigned up north to a Shasta lightning complex that came through on Monday. And they're assigned to what's called the Sheep Fire, which is just shy of 28,000 acres, with 3% containment on there. So it looks like these lightning strikes are probably going to last or the fires caused by them probably last for about another week or so, which for me, as the fire chief here, kind of brings back to light of what we could do here locally to prepare, not necessarily for lightning strikes, but for everyday little occurrences that could start fires. Even though we're in August, it's still not too late if you haven't done defensible spacing around your properties, basically removing anything that's dead or dying of the vegetation from around your house, with paying close attention to your rooftops, rain gutters, and within that first 5-foot perimeter around the foundation of your home. Those are the most vulnerable points that we find. And if you guys or anyone out there still feels like they need an assessment from the fire department, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to come out there and assist you and write a prescription that's specific to your property. And also, it's also a reminder for us with the evacuation orders and warnings that have been going on both in Sonoma County and in Marin, is to make sure you have an evacuation plan established, or at least that you've talked about it amongst yourselves as family members. You know, make sure you know where you're going. Make sure you have your go bags already prepared, ready to go. Anytime we have a red flag event, my recommendation is make sure your car is fully fueled. You back your vehicles into your driveway. If you're parking on the roadway, make sure you're pointed in the direction of travel. That way it makes it a little easier for you to get out in the event we do have to evacuate. Because let me tell you, in one of these moments when your anxiety levels through the roof, smoky conditions, that driveway that you normally traverse every day was going to become very difficult. And the last thing you want to do is to get your vehicle stuck either on the side of the roadway or in the middle of the roadway, which will then impede some other or some of your neighbors from getting out as well. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Todd.
Thanks, Chief. A lot going on. Add it to the list. You know, I just have my staff on here, and we have our core staff as the mayor introduced them all. You know, we also have Ashley is our Parks and Rec director, and Daria, our finance director. You know, you really have 8 kind of lead directors and people that really move in combination with our chiefs and both police and fire, that really move the needs of the town forward, with a total of probably 15 to 20 staff that actually get the work done. And so that's what we have, you know, as a core group. We have 30 total employees, a lot are part-time, but you have this core team. And I think when you look at this unprecedented time as your town manager, it just brings me great pride of really the expertise and the commitment that we have of our staff. I mean, they're just really outstanding. And, you know, when we talk about how are we going to handle shelters for the fires, and then you're faced with the power shutoffs potentially, and then you're faced with the smoke, and then you're faced with COVID restrictions, and how do you respond in those 4 key areas to help our community with our resources? It's daunting. It's definitely going to be a learning experience. It's going to make us all better as we move forward. But I just really appreciate my staff, and the chief touched on it. He touched on the anxiety. I think all of us, both personally and professionally, have so much anxiety right now, and it's really coming through on our contacts with our community members. We hear it, we feel the stress, we feel the anxiety, and you know, I don't know, in my 26 years, I think I've dealt with people that are really angry with me or have been really confrontational in some ways. I've never been faced with the anxiety and the frustration of community members like ever before. And it actually puts me on my heels at times. And so I just want you all to know that we feel it, we're sensitive to it, and we're trying our best. But I think we all need to recognize this is an unprecedented time, and for us just to work together, as the mayor said, of like, that's what makes us great, the volunteerism, and just, you know, we are all trying to do the best. And I want you to know, with that said, you know, there's no excuses when it comes to public service. You serve and you're there no matter what. So there's no excuses. And I want you to know that we're focused on customer service more than ever. And there's 2 key components to it. And if people want to add to it, we're all ears. But I want you to know that when you contact us, that we're going to respond. And the expectation is that we respond immediately. And then with that response, we share with you how we're going to handle it, or how we're going to get back in touch with you. And the second piece of it is follow through. We're going to follow through for whatever we said we're going to do. And on those key things, if we don't, you know, we're going to handle it the way we need to handle it. And I think this is an unprecedented time. And so I think we need some assistance, and some of our departments need some help. And so we're working with the council to bring in some extra help through this really crazy time to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the community, whether it's the permitting process, it's administration, it's fine, whatever it is. We're here, any special programs we want to do to support the community, we're going to ask for help and we're going to get it done. So I feel like I needed to say that. And I think, you know, you all support us a lot. And so we really appreciate you and your patience as well. And then with that, I wanted to, and I forget who had asked me for the last 3 meetings, but for some statistics from Central Marin Police Authority. So I'll wait for the raised hand. But I do have some statistics.
I think that was David Hyams, I believe.
Was it David Hyams? Okay. But I do have statistics from Central Marin Police Authority. We can talk about that on that call, but we'll definitely post it on the website. What I did is I took the 2019 overall statistics that Central Marin Police Authority presented to council. And then I took those numbers and then we were able to break them down for 2019 for the 2 shopping centers to kind of start a discussion. And then I know David Hyams has also been talking about the census, and that's very important to us. Right now we have an 80% response rate, and it's really good, but let's try to get to 90% or higher. And so Lorena and Rebecca are going to put out a social media blast this week. We got some more information on the census that we can forward to the community to really engage them, as David has been asking us. And so look out for that this week. And so that's moving forward. Our housing grant, we're going to do a second round of the housing grant to help our residents. The Corte Madera Community Foundation originally donated $25,000 and we matched it. And so that was the first round. And so that was great. The Corte Madera Community Foundation came back to us and actually donated another $25,000. So we're matching that as well. And Lorena's taken the lead on that, and we're starting the advertising immediately. So thank you so much to our foundation for that. And then I wanted to just really quickly, if there's any neighbors around Town Hall, around the post office, we kind of had a breakthrough with the post office. So Adam Wolf, our planning and building director, and myself, and Mike Moriarty, our code enforcement official, were on the call, and we might have a solve. We've had, for those of you that don't know, we've had a long ongoing issue that actually goes back a couple decades. And really what's happened is the Corte Madera, our very small Corte Madera post office that's in a residential area, actually has become a hub, and it services Larkspur and other areas. And we get early morning deliveries starting at 3:30 a.m. every day. And it just goes through the entire morning, and it's caused problems like sleeping patterns for our firefighters, for over 90+ residents in the area. And so we're negotiating with right now potentially for them to move the delivery operation to another city, but to have our post office where it is for storefront, so people can still go there. You can get packages, post office boxes, stamps, and such. But the early morning deliveries will actually go to a different post office and then brought back over to Corte Madera, so we can get around that issue. And we're told that it will not affect our service in any way. And so it's a big picture conversation. Our staff has been working with the post office for the last 4 years on that. And I think we finally had a really good positive breakthrough. And so I thank Mike and Adam for their help. And we're going to engage the community, especially our residents in our neighborhood, probably in about a month, and give them an update and hopefully have a really good timeline so we can see some wins there. And so we're excited about that. And with that, I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions.
That was incredible. Thank you, Todd. That was a really comprehensive overview. I just want to say, you said at the beginning, you highlighted how hard you and the staff are working, and how you guys are, you're kind of in the same boat as all of us in the community in terms of the dauntingness and the anxiety and just how unprecedented these times are. And I just wanted to say, from what I hear from folks around town, it's not lost on them how hard our staff is working to confront these issues. I mean, the post office, a prime example. I don't know how you guys did that, but that has been such a stubborn, protracted issue for years. And so that is so impressive that you guys are able to finally make some progress on that. So huge congratulations to you there. And I'm sure that if that ends up panning out, our residents in the area are going to be thrilled. So thank you guys for everything that you do. With that, we're going to turn it over to the folks on the line now and start taking questions. We got Lucinda is our first hand up, so let's get her on here.
Good afternoon, all. Thanks again for having these meetings. I think they're wonderful. I wanted to go back to what Todd and Chief Martin were also saying about the evacuation and the problems that one could foresee with that. But we've gone through in our neighborhood response group and updated all of our information on the folks so that we've got current data, number one. Number two, a reminder of where to meet if we have to evacuate so that we can account for everybody and have a reasonable idea of whether we've all made it or not for further action as required. But one of the questions that came up is, okay, all right, we meet down there in that overflow parking lot north of Nordstrom's. What then? What is the town's plan for any housing in an emergency situation where people have had to evacuate?
Sure. So I can start that. So I'll give you an example. So we have the fire out in West Marin, and so as a county, it starts there. And so what we did is we've identified 4 potential shelters. The first is the Corte Madera, and it's the Mill Valley Community Center, which is the first to activate. It would be Redwood High School, it would be Novato High, and then San Rafael would also open a shelter. And so what we would do is we would staff those. So we would let people know, you need to go here, and we would either shelter people or more than likely with COVID-19, we would do what San Mateo County did. And we would use the shelters as a first to check in on everyone, make sure we have everyone's safe. And then we give vouchers and we'd send people to hotels. And so we are working as a county, not only within Marin County, but also outside those counties that don't have fire issues of basically garnering contracts and having availability to take advantage of what's going on and having the availability of hotels. And so that's what we've kind of put in place immediately as the fire started. And so it also depends on the varying levels of the fire, but that's how we're starting to position ourselves right now as a county over the last 10 days. And again, we rely on the neighborhood response groups because they are the ones that are communicating with the neighborhoods. And then we are also through the coordinator, as information comes and as necessary, we would communicate through those networks as well to let you know where to go. And again, it depends on the situation, right? So you can even if a fire is on Christmas Tree Hill, it depends on as the chief will tell us, it depends on the weather patterns and the wind. And so there's just a lot of variables that'll come into play. But we are absolutely planning for, worst case scenarios and being prepared to do whatever we have to do. But it's daunting, Lucinda, you're right. So we're working on it. And I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Chief.
No, I think you covered everything. Aside from local evacuation shelters and with the vouchers for hotels, just start thinking about what's your phone tree and family network outside of the area. Do you have friends that live in a neighboring county that you could potentially go over to their home? So just start thinking about branching out and making sure you've got all your phone tree and your contacts available as well.
Am I still on?
Yes.
Okay. And Todd, with regard to using the vouchers for hotels, with COVID, aren't people being put up in the hotels for the COVID spacing or quarantine periods? I mean, I don't understand how there's going to be enough hotel space to handle an additional emergency level.
Yeah, right now at the hotels for COVID, it's not we're not housing anyone that has COVID-19. The numbers actually are going the other way for us. So we've been good in that aspect. The hospitals luckily have not been overwhelmed. We have used it to help first responders. And again, the primary use right now is for those that need shelter from the fires. So county health in every county has a criteria. And so if we were to use a hotel for fire to shelter fire victims from the evacuations, there would be a protocol that we would all have to follow. So we wouldn't just arbitrarily house everyone together. And so, yeah, we'd have to meet all the safety protocols. And so you would be protected. The other thing is, if anything ever happens in this town, the first place for us is our town park, and our community center is the core kind of infrastructure for us. And there are scenarios where it might not be available to us, but that area, as well as you mentioned, our shopping center parking lots, that's where we would go in major scenarios. And as the chief said, you just need to get to safety and then kind of reset. What are the opportunities within the town? What are the opportunities within my family and friends in the area? And we have to have a plan. And so everybody should think about that and develop a plan. As we move forward and the county talks to us, again, I talked about, we have 25 to 30 core employees outside of police and fire. So our contribution to the county effort, because we need help too from them, is we're going to send a handful of employees to the shelters to educate ourselves on how to run a shelter. Because historically what you would do is we'd say, okay, we're going to open the community center, call the Red Cross out, they bring the cots, they help run it, and they do everything. Well, the Red Cross isn't available to our county right now. So we're on our own. So first is to educate ourselves on how to do it, but really kind of there's multiple things going on right now. And so what we probably would do as a town is we would be available, because we have the generators available, as a cooling center, as a kind of a staging ground for people, and then move them where they need to go. And so that's going to be our contribution moving forward. And we're talking, about that at the county level of what that looks like moving forward.
Thank you very much. That's very comprehensive.
Great. Thank you, Lucinda. Really, really good questions on a really important topic. I just had kind of one question I wanted to append onto that, maybe mainly for Chief Martin, I'm not sure, but I've had a couple residents who live up on Christmas Tree Hill or up on like Upper Chapman in the past couple of days ask me about, should we consider, say, on like red flag warning days, should we like park a car overnight with a go bag in it down in the flats, like at, I don't know, like at the town center shopping center, like parking lot or something? I was just curious kind of how you might weigh in on those sorts of ideas. Is that something that is maybe acceptable, or is that something that you would caution against? And I'm sure there's also probably parking issues there with like, various lots are regulated and things like that. So I was just curious what you might say about that.
I think everything depends on the situation. If we're looking at mass evacuations where we want to get everybody out at the same time, your safest bet is to drive off of the hill, because you're staying on the blacktop in a vehicle where it provides you that extra level of protection. Your cars aren't spontaneously combusting when you're driving down the hill. So as long as we keep moving, even though it may take some time, I think that's the best bet. For all the residents within Christmas Tree Hill, my recommendation is when the evacuation warning is issued, that is your order to leave. Don't wait for an evacuation order telling you that you need to leave now. When we say, hey, this is your evacuation warning, just because it's going to take us time to get off the hill. With no traffic whatsoever, you're looking at about 12 to 15 minutes coming from the very top. With 250 plus homes up there, that's probably about 500 vehicles. So we're going to have to try to come down the hill in an orderly fashion. Now, if you feel like your best bet and your best chances of survival is to park your car across the street and maybe down at Town Park, that's also a possibility. Is just you've got to weigh your risk on, is it going to take longer for me to walk off the hill than it would be to drive? And sure. In my opinion, what I would do, I would drive off the hill, and that's where I would be.
That's really helpful. I'll pass it along to those couple residents that had emailed me about that. We've got a few more hands up, so we're going to go to Dorsey and then Michael. And anyone else on the line, if you've got questions, please go ahead and put your hands up, and we will get to you. Dorsey is going to be up next.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Kudos to our Central Marin Police Authority for taking the more positive action in encouraging the wearing of the masks and keeping the distance. I didn't hear any follow-up on that. How did that turn out? That's question number one. Then I have another comment to make.
Okay, sounds good. Todd, are you able to give an update on how the mask enforcement is going? Oh, you're muted.
Let me follow up and I have the statistics somewhere. Let me try to find them. But it was very successful in both San Anselmo, Corte Madera, and Larkspur. A lot of contacts, a lot of education, it was very successul. But let me, as we go through this call, let me see if I can track down those statistics.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Todd. I know that there were positive reactions from other areas of Marin County as well. So yay for our police chief. The other thing, oh yes, one of my neighbors was the beneficiary of the rental assistance, and they asked me whether there was going to be another one for September.
Yes, there is. So, Lorena, I think, just sent out letters to all of the previous, all the folks who were determined to be eligible previously and were all sent letters. So another round of letters has just gone out for a September round of this program. Is there anything that you want to add, Rebecca?
The information is live on our website as of 4 p.m.
Perfect.
And I think Lorena is rolling out all of the social media announcements.
Great, thank you. So Dorsey, your neighbors should have a letter on their way, but they can also check our website if they want information sooner.
Okay, thank you. I know they will be so happy. Thanks a lot, and thanks for what you're doing here.
Our pleasure, and glad to hear that your neighbors. Yeah.
I have okay, so are you ready for the statistics? So this is, again, this is San Anselmo, Larkspur, and Corte Madera. We're part of this operation, but I'll just focus on Corte Madera unless you want the other numbers. But within Corte Madera, based on complaints that we've been receiving from the community, Central Marin Police Authority went out to Town Park, Corte Madera Town Center, Cove School, and Nellen and Lucky Drive. About 220 people were observed. 21 people were contacted without mask. It was a 90% compliance rate. About 11 of the 21 people were in compliance and understood the mask rules, but were not wearing a mask since they were exercising and maintaining 6 feet of social distancing. About 10 people were warned for not being in compliance. They were provided masks and they were entered into the system as we talked about before. So what'll happen next time is if the same person is contacted without a mask, they run their name and they go, Sally Mae was warned once, they now get a ticket. And they go through the process moving forward. There were 0 misdemeanor citations issued. There were 5 masks were handed out. In the racial makeup of those contacted in our community, 16 were Caucasian, 4 were Hispanic, and 1 was African American. So overall,
this is ongoing?
Yeah, so this is something we will do on an ongoing basis now.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah.
That's great.
We're going to handle it kind of like we did. A lot of times we get complaints with people not stopping for pedestrians in the crosswalk, and we do those operations. So we send out a press release, let you know it's an issue. We educate you. We tell you we're going to be in the area, and then we go out and we enforce. And so that's how we're handling. We're taking the same approach for this, and so we will keep doing it in our communities as necessary. So yeah, I thank the police department for that help.
That's fantastic. Great. Anything else, Dorsey?
No. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Alrighty, thank you. And thank you, Todd, for updating us on that. That's great. I mean, CMPA is doing incredible work. All right, next up here is going to be Michael.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about the expansion of Town Hall. And secondly, and this is very important, that Adam Wolf is looking increasingly like Mark Ruffalo, the actor. So I wanted to get those out of the way.
Excellent.
It's not bad, Adam. I'm on the Climate Action Committee. So I guess a fundamental question is, where does that stand? Are we meeting? I know, Eli, you're part of it. So is it just sort of on hold right now?
Not, there was no like deliberate decision to put it on hold. I think it's just that staff is all running at like 110% capacity right now. So it's been proving difficult to get to everything. Rebecca, feel free to weigh in if you have any, if you want to update, but I think, you're right, Michael, the Climate Action Committee that was newly formed, and this has like been weighing on me because it's like, okay, we like went to the trouble of forming this committee. We had our awesome first meeting, and then COVID hit. And it's just like been, I don't know, it's just, I feel like kind of sapped our momentum. We'll definitely come back in full force once, once I think a vaccine is out and regulations shift and restrictions start lifting. We can continue, I think, trying to do these remote meetings. We can go ahead and try and schedule one as soon as staff has some bandwidth to help us kind of facilitate that. But I totally hear you. And I'm as eager as you are to kind of get back to work. Rebecca, did I miss anything?
No, but you did direct the group, the subcommittees were formed, and you directed them to work within their subcommittees to formulate action plans. And then I think the idea was going to be we were going to bring the group back together at some point to share what these subcommittees were working on and where they stood with that. So maybe we can reach out and see how the subcommittees are doing and find a time to bring everyone back together.
Okay, that's a good idea. We can go ahead and do that as kind of our first step, and I think that'll kind of give, getting that together will, I think, give also you guys some time to actually find, find like a small gap in your schedule where you may be able to help us kind of facilitate with the noticing and whatnot, and hopefully we'll be able to pull together a meeting in the next month or so. Yeah, Michael, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, well, it's a follow-up to that, and I appreciate knowing that it's still, in process. I think Rebecca just made a pretty good summary of what I understand. This is off the wall, but it relates, and Todd, it might, or I don't know who can answer this, maybe Public Works. So when we have high winds and a lot of leaf fall on the hill, I don't know. So it adds to the fire, cars run over this stuff, and I'm a big composter. So I get excited when I see all these mashed leaves that the cars are running over. So does the town sweep? I know we sweep in advance of a rainstorm to clear the gutters, but what happens to all that wonderful compost material? Are we using that for anything good? I don't know if anybody has an answer to that.
RJ Suko, Director of Public Works. So kind of two-part question, kind of how and when do we sweep? And I would say we sweep as often as needed. So, even on days like this, it's possible to see our sweeper out there if we see enough debris on the roads. And then as far as where that material goes, I'd have to get back to you because we're not just picking up leaves, we're picking up sometimes, other non-compostable material, and then it comes down to, sorting and that sort of thing. So, but I can get an answer on that definitively.
Very euphemistically put, RJ.
Yeah, commonly known maybe as garbage.
Or dog debris, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it occurred to me, mostly I see street sweepers getting ready when the rains and it's going to clog the gutters. But, there's a fair amount of buildup that adds to our fire load. Anyways, so, yeah, RJ, so where does it go? Where does it go now when the sweeper sweeps?
Okay. Yeah, and I'll get back to you. It's either being disposed of with the trash or
so it's going in the landfill.
Green bin. So but I'll have to confirm and get back to you.
Okay. All right, I'd be interested. Okay, thanks guys. Love that you're doing this.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks for participating. All right, next up is going to be Peter.
Hey there. Thanks for having these meetings. They are very informative. And actually, I was thinking Adam looks a little more like Grizzly Adams, but we'll leave it at Mark Ruffalo.
Man.
I'm picking on him because he's right in the center of my screen.
I'll come with a different look next time. You can call me
As long as it's not Ming the Merciless, we're okay. Okay, couple items. One, and I don't know if it was the previous meeting or the one before, there was discussion about leaf blowers, and that the town had shifted policy on gas-powered leaf blowers. And just, 2 days ago, the yard maintenance people on like 3 of my neighbors surrounding my house are out with their gas-powered leaf blowers. So one question is, what is the town enforcement policy relative to that? And then rather than just complaining, I want to offer a suggestion, since that tends to work a little better, is I'm wondering if you can send letters or emails out to the landscaping or yard maintenance companies, or even to the residents, saying, look, here's our policy. And, even to the point of, if you want to replace your equipment, here's potential suppliers of more appropriate equipment that matches the town's policy. And if we were dripping in cash, we could offer rebates for them to change out their equipment. But just a question and a suggestion on that.
Thanks, Peter. That's a perennial one that keeps coming up every week. And so Todd's been doing great work trying to get on top of the leaf blower issue. So I'll turn it over to him.
Yeah, so a lot of points there. So what we've done is we've taken like all of our ordinance violations. So from the mask ordinance to the leaf blowers to dogs off leash, we kind of stepped back, we listened to the community, got feedback from the council, and really what I've done as a town manager with the police chief is said, hey, let's take an educational approach. Then let's give a warning, let's have documentation of that warning. And then after the warning, we start issuing citations. We're going to come back to council with a fee schedule with a recommendation of the first citation is a certain amount of money, and then it starts to really double. It starts to go up. So we really start to attack it as a policy. And so that's where we're going to head as a practice across the board. So barking dogs, any ordinance violation. So that's number one. Number two is we rely on Central Marin Police Authority to enforce, and Central Marin Police Authority is busy enough doing other things. And so they can't always help, but we rely on them at night. We rely on them on weekends, right? But during the week, we have a code enforcement officer, and we're also going to enhance our code enforcement capabilities moving forward with council approval to make sure that we can be responsive. And so the first part is we work with the contractors a lot through Public Works and as a town, because we use those contractors for a lot of our town projects. And so one of the things we've done is we've really just case by case, but we can do a better job to your point. And I think we're going to do a community, it'll take council approval, but we'll do this community wide. But we've taken a lot of the contractors and said, hey, like, we'll help you transition to electric. And so it's kind of like the gun buyback, so to speak. You give us your gas powered leaf blower, and we'll help give you a voucher for an electric one, or we'll help facilitate it. The other one is as we get warnings. So, someone might only be out there for 15 minutes. So when you call us, we might not be able to get there in 15 minutes. We probably won't, and so let's just be honest about that. So then what we do is through Mike Moriarty, our code enforcement official, we're contacting the residents saying, hey, and we're educating them. We're like, hey, look, here it is. We're documenting it now. You've been warned. Here it is. And then have your contractor contact us. And if it's a money issue, if it's a problem, like we'll help you, because we're committed to that. We're also respectful when we pass this ordinance as a staff and a council, that it's not fair to contractors when every jurisdiction has a different ordinance, and how are they supposed to know? And so we try to do a good job of educating them and trying to help them. And so I guess to the point of what I'm trying to say to your question is, I think, and we're delayed a little bit on it, but we wanted to bring something to council and do kind of like a town-wide, because we do have some money to do it. And I think the council supports it, but like, hey, let's turn in your gas powered leaf blower and we'll help get you up to a certain amount on electric leaf blower or whatever. So that's kind of what we're working on right now, but it's a case by case basis. But there are a lot of violations going on right now. And so You know, and we only have one code enforcement official. So I think it's important, though, that people don't get frustrated and feel like no one's doing anything. You need to call us, because whether we can get out there in 15 or 20 minutes or not, we are going to make contact with the violator, and we're going to educate them, get them in the system, and we're going to do what we have to do. So it's important to call us and still bring it to our attention. And we're working on it.
Yeah, I think on something like that, you know, if, like, for instance, I know my neighbors pretty well, is maybe just have me say, hey, did you know the town has this thing and wouldn't want your contractor to be cited? You know, why don't you have a conversation with them? And here's the number at the town. Up, Rebecca.
And I think, Peter, to that point, Barbara Solomon brought it up when we actually passed the ordinance. You know, she brought up like the dogs, barking dogs. Like, we have a card, and it's kind of a cheater card, and we give out to residents in the community of like, quick, it's just on a 3x5 card, and it's the 10 bullet points to whatever the ordinance is. And for us to do the same thing for the leaf blowers. And so again, we're delayed on it. I apologize, but that's another one that's really easy. We can give out to the community, and like, you might get it, but maybe your neighbor doesn't. And you could say, oh, hey, did you know? Here it is. There's a leaf blower ordinance. Here it is. Here's the 5 bullet points to it. You know, so it's not confrontational, it's educational, and hopefully it starts to, you know, pick up steam in our community.
Yeah. Looks like both Rebecca and Mike had something to add here. I think Mike.
Well, I could just add, unless Rebecca would like to start, but my phone does ring frequently. And I get messages, but also I roll straight from the desk. If someone calls and complains, hey, I've been listening to this gas leaf blower for the last half hour. Last week I went out and contacted a group of individuals that were doing, using the gas leaf blower, and I speak Spanish as well, and I'm able to communicate with, you know, both English and Spanish about what the laws are and what's required. And, you know, in this last week, you know, this individual was engaging me, wanted to know, you know, he's evaluating the consequences of the action. Well, how much is the citation? And do I actually get the ticket, or does the homeowner get the ticket? So, I mean, these are things that when we come back to council, and we want to talk about how we're going to do this buyback program, we may want to evaluate that as well as, you know, we ultimately want to educate those who are employing the landscape professionals, because you know, when you're engaging in professional services, you want to make sure you're engaging in services and they're providing the services that are allotted. But circling back, I'm welcome any email, even a snapshot. Hey, this is my neighbor. You know, he's I don't want to get involved, but they're using the leaf blower. I've sent several. I have a nice letter that I've sent created. It's a form letter. It highlights the laws specifically. Some, you know, if it doesn't show who that photo came from, I'll send some of the photos as well. I will tell you that out of between about 15 to 20 letters that I've sent back, I have not received a repeat offender complaint. So in addition to that, I am working with Central Marin Police Authority. I have a great relationship with the command staff and the patrol staff there. If they have something that becomes problematic and they're not able to deal with, I will go out there. I'll talk. I spend the time. I listen and try to resolve this, whatever the complaint is. So it's going to be a multifaceted approach, but we have updated the community in writing, email, on our social media platforms. It's going to be a slow process. So aside from education, it's about integrity too, right? You know, there's a law. Are you willing to break it? It's like the mask. So, you know, it's a slow process to change human behavior, and we hope to do that.
Great.
Rebecca, did you want to add anything?
Sure, just briefly. We do post about it frequently. If you go through the rotating carousel on the town's website with the news flashes, there's a standing one in there about the gas-powered leaf blowers being banned. It was most recently mentioned in our August 14th newsletter, and every time we post about it, we do link to an English-Spanish flyer that people can print out and give to their neighbors, to their contractors, and that's really helpful. And if you just go on the website and search leaf blower flyer, it's one of the first things that comes up.
Thanks.
Great.
And then, if I might, there's this one's in Adam's realm. I've been wondering if it's time to think about doing a general plan update. Having worked on the previous general plan, it might need a refresh given more recent circumstances, things like COVID-19 and future pandemics, really impact retail operation, and just sort of the fabric of the community got shaken by that. But also in terms of sort of paradigm shifts in technology, and I'm thinking, how is the community going to look if in the somewhat near future with autonomous vehicles, and just changes in how transportation works and how retail may be needing to respond to online and less brick and mortar. And then having participated in meetings with the Marin Conservation League and Marin Clean Energy on some of the plans that they want to implement relative to developing community scale microgrids that are tied to expanded distributed energy resource assets, namely residential solar, batteries, electric vehicles, and other types of storage, that really impacts some of the things that are in the general plan. And so that any new construction or renovation has a keen eye on the future rather than anchored in what we've been doing in the past. Because essentially these buildings that will be around for the next 30, 40, 50 plus years, once you invest that amount of capital, people don't have money for technology updates. And so we got to get way out in front of this stuff. And I also say that because I'm heavily involved in the 2 next generation Title 24 energy standards. And then also, I think that would also build into doing enhanced fire protection practices that could be folded in the general plan to help insulate us from some of these risks. And
Thank you, Peter. That's a lot of important topics that you bring up here. I'm just noticing we've got like 15 minutes left and a few more hands up. So maybe we have Adam give kind of like a broad response, and then we'll get through. Barbara's got her hand up and Dorsey's got her hand up again. I just want to make sure they both have a chance to talk, especially Barbara hasn't gotten to speak yet. And then if there's more for Adam to elaborate on and no other hands up, we can.
I would also add, Adam can take the response offline if that's helpful.
Sure. Okay. Adam, do you want to give like a high level response right now and just kind of like looking at the next phase of the general plan, and then maybe we can, okay.
Yeah, so just broadly speaking, generally the general plans, for one, I would just say those are, as you probably know, Peter, very well, those are intensive efforts. And generally, I think our last update was in 2009, and generally those are forecasting out 20 years. So 20 years is usually the amount of time at which communities tend to take a fresh look at the entire general plan. I think last time I know when Dave Bracken I started, he said that we spent about $500,000 in the last one. So, but that being said, we are continually looking at a lot of these things that you're talking about in the precisely because you say you can't predict what you're going to run into. So we have now the climate action plan that we've adopted or approved in 2016. That's getting updated again, or should be pretty soon. Climate adaptation plan, that's another one. So all of these things, we are going to be required to update our housing element of our general plan. That's going to be in the next couple of years. So I think let's talk offline, Peter. And there's a lot of these elements that you're talking about. I frankly think that are better addressed or can be addressed precisely because of the rapidity of which change happens. 20 years, it's hard to do long range planning anymore because things are changing so quickly and so frequently that sometimes we need to look at smaller chunks to bite off as things change and focus our resources where we can make the biggest impact in addressing sort of proactively some of these issues that you raised. So let's continue that conversation, but I'll take the rest offline. Hopefully that's helpful.
Great. And if you guys wouldn't mind copying me on any like emails around there, just because I think that I'm really interested in these topics as well. Everything that Peter brought up, I think that's critical, and I'm really looking forward to hearing kind of what Adam's insights might be. So if you're able to copy me, please do. Peter, is there anything else right now? Or
just one last comment relative to the earlier question about where do we go in the event of fire, and you had mentioned doing housing things at hotels. I think Marin is a little short on hotel rooms. So I'm wondering, is there an inventory of resources if there's a lot of people who need to find shelter? And again, the answer can come offline and post it elsewhere. I don't need to.
Sure. Thanks. Todd, is that something you're able to speak to real brief?
I mean, it's just real quick. Absolutely. And so like when the whole state is on fire, it's difficult, Peter, but we're looking at counties where they're not, susceptible to fires or don't have fires. And so we're going outside the county. So we're not just relying on our own resources within the county. We have to go outside. And again, it's an ever evolving kind of situation, but we're absolutely at the county level evaluating all of that. But I look forward to, I can talk to you offline more about that as well.
And I would just add to that real quick. And I think importantly, the town, I think recently recognized the need for encouraging hotels and maybe even larger hotels than we currently have by passing a recent hotel bonus floor area ordinance, which would potentially is an incentive or encouragement for hotels or hotel developers to look for sites in Corte Madera to build new hotels, so that if this happens in the future, we may be better prepared to deal with those situations. And I think it points to sort of the unique land use and the unique sort of type of property, the hotels and services that hotels can provide. They're not only for visitors, they can be used in multiple different ways. So anyways, just adding that.
Great. All right. Thank you guys.
You were doing that as an enticement to get a job at the administration, were you? But Eli will explain that to you. Sorry.
Already, thank you very much, Peter. We're going to have to move on here. We've got a couple other hands, but I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to talk here. Thanks a lot, Peter, and we'll follow up with you offline on the rest of those issues you brought up. Next up here is going to be Barbara, and then I saw Margaret's hand going up and down. It looked like she may have been having technical difficulty, so we'll see if that comes back up and maybe get her on here. Hey, Barbara.
Hey, yeah, hi. Hello, guys. You all look tired to me. So I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy days, your busy weeks to do these meetings. They are so important. We really appreciate it, especially those regulars of us. And I'm not going to comment on Adam's hair. A point of clarification. I wasn't sure from the comments, are you currently citing homeowners rather than the landscapers on the gas leaf blower issue? You are, okay, because it wasn't clear from the comments if that was the case. Okay, I thought that's the way it was, and it should be, I think. And I was going to offer to help Todd craft a shortened version of the leaf blower ordinance into a 3x5 card. If you want my help, I'd be happy to do that. So, and
I'll
then
take you up on that.
Okay, take me up on it. And the other question was, if you can do a short recap on it's like a can of worms, I know, but the dog in the park issue, the dog in the canal issue since the last town council meeting, is there an update, or is it's just more discussion, more of the same discussion?
Yeah, do you want to take that, boss?
Go ahead. I think
you can do it. I mean, I think the council was pretty clear. Do you want to give it?
Yeah, well, so especially, Barbara, I'll say especially when it comes to dogs in waterways, whether it's marshes or canals or things like that, we all, I think it was unanimous, the council felt that dogs should not be in wetland type settings, especially because wetlands are generally recognized as very valuable and incredibly sensitive habitats. And so I think that was an issue to us in addition to, kind of the noise. So council felt that dogs do not belong in wetlands. We also felt that not having a limit on the length of your leash kind of like defeats the purpose of a leash ordinance. So we set leash length. What did we end up going with? 6 feet.
County, 6 feet. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. We're trying to be consistent with, with other jurisdictions to the extent that we can, while making sure that our solution is right for Corte Madera. And I think that I think we address the issues in a way that's going to definitely resolve the issues without really infringing on people's ability to go out and exercise with their dogs in our parks on leash, except for at the dog park, which is the only place in town where you can have your dog off leash. We also said that if you're walking your dog on your 6-foot leash in a park, you need to be on a path. So no taking your dog on leash and traipsing through sports fields or things like that, because then you end up with dog waste and things in sports fields where kids play, and we're trying to avoid that. I think those were the main issues. Did I miss anything, Todd?
No, I think that's it. And the only other thing is the town has provided extra funding to Central Marin Police Authority to provide daily, multiple times a day, actual enforcement out at so we are enforcement based at this point, and that started 3 weeks ago. And then we're coming back to council with that recommendation, as the mayor just outlined, on the September 15th meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's very helpful. Thanks a lot.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Barbara. All righty. I'm going to invite Margaret on here real fast, just because her hand was going up and down. I want to make sure she was not having technical difficulties if she had something to say. Let's see if... Hey, Margaret. Well, she's on, but not hearing anything. So we may have some sort of issue. Okay. That's unfortunate. Margaret, if you have something to say to us, please go ahead and just email us. We've got a hand up from Jonna Hale in the meantime, so we'll go to her.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Jonna.
Hi, I thought I was going to get through this without saying anything, but I want to thank the town for matching the Corte Madera Community Foundation's $25,000 for the second round of housing assistance. We think this is a really important thing to do for our community, and I just wanted to mention that instead of sending out a fundraising letter at the end of the year for ourselves, this year we're going to be sending out something town-wide, asking people to help donate to a fund that can provide various kinds of assistance to Corte Madera residents who are in need. So that'll be going to every residence in town within the next few weeks, because we think that's something that is really important to do for our community. And again, thank you to the town for matching our commitment to another $25,000 for housing assistance in September.
Thank you guys, and thank you to anybody else from the Community Foundation who's on the call. You guys, you're such an important backbone of our community, and it's your assistance that has been really a linchpin in not only this rental assistance, but several of our other recent initiatives that we've done to really help residents, especially in this incredibly difficult year. So thank you on behalf of I think I speak for all of us, when we say that the Community Foundation is such an important part of Corte Madera. So thank you guys for everything that you do. And Jonna, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Nope, that's all.
Okay, thank you so much. We've got
for doing this.
Our pleasure, thank you. Dorsey's hand is back up again, and she'll probably be our last. I don't know, the time flew by today. So let's get Dorsey on here for closing comment. Dorsey?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just unmuted myself. Oh, unmuted. That's right. I don't have any questions. Every time I swish my mouse, it hits that raise hand thing.
Oh, no worries. It happens. No problem. We've got a few folks having technical issues today, it seems like. Okay. Well, with that, it is 5 o'clock now, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Thank you guys to everybody who participated today, asked some great questions. Thank you to all the staff for taking the time to be here and answer folks' questions and give us updates. A lot of incredible work you guys are doing at an incredibly crazy time in town right now. So oh yeah, Rebecca.
Thank you, Mayor Beckman. I got a response back from our Parks and Recreation Director, Ashley Howe. And I sent it to both you and Todd. Her update is, as of now, there are 9 children registered for the all-day distance learning camp and 6 children registered for the after-school camp, and programs start Monday, August 31st. And if you know of any friends or neighbors in your communities that could use some assistance with the distance learning, send them our way and we will get them signed up.
So this is distance learning and like after school childcare.
Correct. They have a full day program, and it's $800 for each 3-week session. So it's an incredible value. And that goes all day from, I believe, 8, no, it's on our website, 8:15 or 8:30 until 6, I believe. And then
that's amazing.
There's just an aftercare portion from 3 to 6 if you just want to get your child out for a little bit. And more information is available on our website and the Parks and Recreation page.
That is great. I am so impressed that with this affordable kind of childcare and distance learning that you guys put together. Yeah, Ruben?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Beckman. One quick announcement before we close shop is Fire Safe Marin is hosting a webinar tonight for the citizens that are interested. It's called Evacuations and Warnings, How to Survive a Wildfire. So you can access it either through centralmarinfire.org or through firesafemarin.org. Fantastic.
Thank you so much for that.
I think the link to that was also in our weekly newsletter, if you have that handy.
Beautiful. Okay, great. And everybody, if you're not subscribed to Corte Madera's newsletter, please go on the town's website and sign up, because it comes out every week and is full of really useful information. And with that, look, so many people stayed on the line until 5:02. It's incredible.
Dedication.
Anyways, all right, guys. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to our staff, and we will see you next week when we have a council meeting, I believe. So take care, everybody. Bye.
Thanks.